Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, just because you can do something doesn't mean we should. That's why the intro Hiraya gave about, hypothetically, us reporting to the other team about equity and those particular violations. And then let's say they have an investigation. And then the ruling is that, oh no, bad things can happen. You can't break as a result of the complaint. That in itself is the ultimate disservice to the other team, which is exactly what we don't want to happen. This proves our point because yes, there can be validity of an idea or validity of something, but that doesn't mean just because you can act on something doesn't mean that there are going to be other bad things to happen. Because also, contrary to popular belief, things can get worse, especially at the point in which those particular parties are emotional, are aggravated, are angry, and tilted. Let's make this quite simple. Why is their side unable to win this round? Number one, Gov has this particular assumption that we disagree with their case. But we think that's not what we're saying, right? We agree with some parts of it broadly because of their inability to properly characterize the problem, and that's their shortcoming. We were quite clear where our case lied and where the anchor point was, and we told you quite specifically that this debate isn't about the minority or the situation in contention, but about the policy. Because this is a policy motion, and this debate is about evaluating the likelihood of that. Meaning, the particular concern with their side of the house is that they particularly weren't necessarily clear with those particular metrics, and we think that being charitable, at best, they prove a sense of urgency and motivation to do something, but aren't fully able to weigh and arbitrate why their particular policy would be on average so much better. Number two, right? We think that they had a quite glib response when they said that, oh, you're counterfactual, you didn't mechanism, you didn't prove anything. But we think we proved to you how exactly it works and explained to you what happened. Meaning, in Jaron's case, right? In the event where the person loses, this can particularly lead to a counter lawsuit and a vicious cycle of back and forth of people suing each other and people losing money, time, and resources from that. But in the best case, which unlocks on their side, if you win, then we could see more subtle aggression or them backbiting and talking about you, or even worse, them saying, nanalo lang yan kasi yung evidence mas mababa. That in and of itself unlocks Jaron's extension, of which there was little to no response to, about the consequence of priority, which ultimately makes it worse off for these very individuals that we actually wanted to save. So, in terms of responsiveness, we were able to explain to you, coming from my speech, the comparative. Meaning, if it's a matter of execution of the law, then we fix the execution, assuming that the law is particularly fine. But assuming but not conceding that the law is broken, then you mentioned, coming from my speech, you heard that you can have constitutional assemblies and conventions to be able to change and arbitrate things so that these rulings can be arbitrated on a blanket-wide basis for all individuals, of which would get redress and enfranchisement for these people. Because the question I have is, which is the POI that we also mentioned, are you also going to be willing to do it for cultural minorities, religious minorities, racial, social? And if their answer is yes, then what's the point? Everything is going to make these couple of millimeter adjustments here and there, and the point in which that you keep adjusting is exactly where the law just ends up in the same place it was. We think that this is a terrible idea. Yes, minorities can be disenfranchised, these women are harmed, but contrary to popular belief, they can be harmed even more, and you create a perverse incentive structure through social and legal means to do it. We are very proud to stand on side negative.